Welcome back to Predicting the NFL with Mickey G. It's now week 15, and let's have a chat about how week 14 went. Short story, bad. We went 7-7, so we still have yet to have a season below 500, or a week below 500 this season. Only season to do so. This is now our second 500 week, though, so I like that to stop, ideally. We got the game of the week correct, but everything else wrong, but the Jersey team did win. So now Jersey team wins and Jersey pick wins are both even, which takes our total number also to 131-77, which is the third best through 14 weeks, behind 2024 and 2017. We were 8-6 in games of the week, 7-7 in upsets, 6-8 in crap fests. 10-4 teams are when I wear the jersey, and so are my picks. Overall, in week 15, we are 57-39, which is pretty good. 1-4 in games of the week, 1-4 in upsets, 2-3 in crap fests. Teams are 0-1 when I wear the jersey, but my picks are 1-0. The best week 15 we've ever had was last year. We went 13-3. How did the betting go? Terrible. We've actually done so poorly now on the betting that we turned $51 into $28, and we were able to do a bet for each game last week, but we turned $70 into $52.65. But that was not real money. A lot of that was like reinvested, so therefore we only have $28, which means we will not be doing a bet for each one of these games. I know, unfortunate, but it seems that the experiment has failed, and moneyline betting on everything, you have to be very good. And I'm not to say that like, oh, I'm really good and it's not working for me. No, it's just not a successful thing. According to playoff predictors, at least, I'm in the 98th percentile when it comes to like correct predictions this year, which means I'm in the top 100. All right, tied for 95th. Okay, with number of correct predictions, and it's not getting me money. So obviously, it's not a successful strategy. We'll see, though. I'm still going to be betting, obviously, because it's fun, but we're going to do less bets probably. Upset, I'm definitely going to be putting money on, and then also probably a couple games that I am really confident I'll probably do some bets on that, and then maybe a couple touchdown parlays just for fun, just so I can lose money. But yeah, that's what the plan is going forward. Unfortunately, we did not make it. There are a couple bad weeks in a row that was really just my fault of losing money. If I had just strictly only been doing moneyline bets and no other bets, I also might be a little more successful. But I think we've only made profit like 3 or 4 weeks this year, so not necessarily successful. So, moving on, we can now talk about this week's predictions. First on our list is our Thursday night and our Jersey game of the week. It is the Falcons at the Buccaneers. As you can see, I have the Creamsicle Josh Freeman on, and that is because the Buccaneers are wearing the Creamsicles today. Today. Today is Thursday. I was saving it for them. Falcons also have their throwback, so great uniform matchup overall. Speaking of in-jersey games all time, the Falcons are 0-2, and so are my picks, whereas the Buccaneers are 1-2, but my picks are 2-1. Who do I think's going to win this one? Well, the Falcons got smoked last week. They kept it close for a little bit there against the Seahawks, and then the Seahawks remember that their team is good, and they can overcome Sam Darnold being bad at the sport, and it closed out. It was not close. Buccaneers, on the other hand, they got upset by the Saints. Fighting now with the Panthers for that division, so it's a close one, but Buccaneers are the better team there. Drake London's still out. I think that hurts the Falcons a lot, and I think the Buccaneers are going to be able to fix things and back to what they were doing at the beginning of the season, so I'm going Buccaneers. Next is the Browns at the Bears. Bears got themselves a loss after a bunch of wins in a row, and Shadur showed out for the Brownies, but it was not enough. They sold the bag at the end, and the Titans came away with a victory, which is just not cool to let them do that. That being said, Bears are a solid football team this year, as much as I hate to say it, and as much as I do love Shadur. The Browns are trying to tank here. It seems pretty obvious at this point, so I'm going with the Bears in this one. Next is the Ravens at the Bengals. This is the first of divisional rematches that we have this week. There's a lot of them. And I feel like most times divisional games split. And that's going to be pretty standard for my picks this year so far, or this week. So starting off here, Ravens at the Bengals. I'm going with the Ravens. They had a bad game last week, lost to the Lurs, but maybe the Lurs are starting to find themselves. 9-8 is inevitable, and that might be all it needs to win the division. So we need to look out for that. Bengals, on the other hand, they had a close loss to the Bills, where Joe Burrow decided to throw a pick six to lose the football game. I think this is a get-right game for the Ravens. They got smoked last time they played the Bengals, and I don't think that's going to happen again. So I am going with the Ravens in this one. Next is the Chargers at the Chiefs. First time, this was week 1 matchup that surprised myself and a lot of people with a Chargers victory. And Chargers just got themselves a win over the Eagles, which was a bit of a surprise as well. But I don't think they're beating the Chiefs twice. Yes, the Chiefs are almost certainly out of the playoffs at this point after another loss, this time to the Texans. But I still think they have a little bit of fire in them. And I think they're going to play hard against this division. I think they're going to be able to split with a lot of the teams that they have left. So I'm going with the Chiefs. Next is the Bills at the Patriots. And this is our third divisional matchup in a row. And I am going with the Bills. Same thing. Bills have been actually playing a little better recently. They're on a 2-game win streak here with the Steelers and Bengals back-to-back. Didn't have to lose the loss to the Texans, but like I've been saying, the Texans unfortunately look really good right now. Patriots, on the other hand, they're on like a 10-game win streak or something ridiculous. And I think they're going to come back down to earth. I don't think they're beating the Bills twice. Now, it does help they're coming off of the bye for this, but I was reading some article where a lot of times byes often help the traveling team if they're coming off a bye. Now, Bills are not, so that doesn't really matter here. But also factors like home field advantage, byes, and all these sorts of things get mostly eliminated when it comes to divisional opponents. So this is my coping way of saying I think the Bills are going to win, even though it might not. Next is the Commanders at the Giants. This is our crap fest of the week. Washington is looking in a terrible spot. Unsurprisingly, Jane Daniels hurt himself again. He is now out for the season, I believe. It looks like we might actually have RG3 too. The only problem is we don't have Kirk Cousins behind him. Instead, we have Marcus Mariota, which nothing against Mariota, but he's not Kirk Cousins in that he's not a young rookie. He's an old veteran. So just a different feel to it. Giants, on the other hand, they have Jackson Dart, who loves to concuss himself. But Washington looks really, really bad. In Crabfest, Washington is 6-3 though. 4-5 are my picks. The Giants are 6-7. My picks are 3-10. But I am going with the home team here. I'm going with the Giants. I'm not sure if they played week 1. That's right, and the Washingtons won. But I don't think that's the case this week, unfortunately. So I'm going with the Giants. So that's now 4 in a row divisional games that I'm picking the opposite of what happened the first time. Next is the Raiders at the Eagles. If the Eagles were playing literally anyone else, well, maybe not literally anyone else, but most any other teams, I would probably be picking them to lose this football game. But instead, they're going against the Raiders, who are bad. Now, that being said, Kenny Pickett is getting the start for them this week. Geno Smith is out or unlikely to play, likely going to be out. So we get some Kenny Pickett hoops against the Eagles, who they had last year, if you remember correctly. And with the way the Eagles have been downward spiraling, and Pickett didn't look too bad at the end of the game last week. I'm going spread in this one. I'm picking the Eagles, but I like the spread a lot for the Raiders. It's like 11.5. I don't know if the Eagles have beat a team by that many points so far this season. They lost by more than that to the Giants in that one game. And then they beat the Giants by 18. Okay. That's it. Every other game has been close, within 10 points. So, obviously, the Raiders are kind of terrible. But this Eagles team 3-game losing streak, they should still win this, but I think Kenny Pickett can keep it close. Next is the Jets at the Jags. The Jets quarterback this week, let me look it up again because I'm not 100% on his name. Jets QB, week 15. Brady Cook, who is not good and looked quite bad last week. He had 2 picks on a 46% completion percentage. 14 of 30 completions, just really bad. Sacked 6 times? Holy cow. Yeah, he was terrible. Tyler got hurt last week, and Brady Cook went in, and it was just a mess from there. Jags should go out there, smoke them. Should not be close. I want 100 points on their head. I want them to do what they did against the Titans and the Chargers. Either way, there should not be close. Jags by a billion. Next is the Cardinals at the Texans. I think Kyler Murray officially shut down. I can't remember if it was last week or this week that they said that. Either way, it's funny. Brissett is the QB of the future for the Cardinals. Just kidding. But they got smoked last week, and this week should not be any different. Texans are playing real good football right now. Defense has been playing good all season long, but their offense is starting to play a little better. And I think that's really all that needs to be said here. Texans are getting this one. Next is the Packers at the Broncos. This is our game of the week. 2 top teams. The Broncos currently the 1 seed in the AFC. Packers are the number 2 seed in the NFC. So these are top of the brackets here, going at it, and I think it's finally time that Bo Nix meets his match. In games of the week, historically, the Packers are 5-3. Picks are 4-4. The Broncos are 0-1. My picks are 1-0. Bo Nix, I think, is going to run into his match here. They're on a stupid game win streak as well, but we all know they're not good. They barely beat the Commanders, who look bad. They barely beat the Raiders, who are bad. They barely beat the Raiders a different time and looked bad. It's just, they've looked bad against bad teams. They looked bad against everyone. They just pull it out in the end. It's kind of that Chiefs syndrome of last year, where they don't look good in any of the games, but they just win them anyways. But I think the Packers are a different kind of team here. These are the guys that lose to teams that are bad a lot of times, at least recently. And then they smoke teams that are good, or at least they play well against teams that are good. They look really good the last couple weeks against the Lions and the Bears. And oh my, I think it's time for them to take down the Broncos. So I'm going with Pack. Next is the Lions at the Rams. These are my favorite matchups every year. I feel like they've played every year since the trade, whether it was playoffs, regular season, or both. But it's the Jared Goff versus Matthew Stafford trade. And Lions may have gotten their get back last week against the Cowboys, but the Rams also got their get back last week against the Cardinals. Rams, I think, are the number 1 team in the league right now. Stafford's playing great. The rest of the team's playing great, and I think they're gonna take it to the Lions and get themselves a victory here. So I'm going with the Rams. Next is the Panthers at the Saints. I did not think the Panthers were going to have a 7-6 record, win record this late in the season, which is making that Jaguars Week 1 win look even better. They got a real shot at the division here, and the Saints are trying to play spoiler. They did it last week against the Buccaneers, but I don't think they're doing it this week against the Panthers. Buccaneers have had some shaky games all year long. Now, not to say that the Panthers haven't as well. They've had a weird season. They've already lost to the Saints once this year. Don't think it's happening again. This is another divisional matchup that I think is going to go the opposite of the first one. So I'm going with the Panthers. Next is the Titans at the Niners. Titans got themselves a goofy win and took themselves out of the #1 spot when it comes to the #1 overall pick, whereas the Niners here currently in that wild card positioning, and they're trying to fight to get above the Seahawks in that wild card spot. So they got to keep winning football games, and this is one they should be able to win. It's the Titans. We know that they're bad, so they're getting this one. Next is the Colts at the Seahawks. This game was going to be exciting. Now it's just going to be fun to watch. Looked like these were going to be some two top teams going at it, fighting it out. But then last week, Danny Dimes decided to hurt himself. And I say hurt himself because it was non-contact. He just went down. Achilles was gone. And then we had our dear friend Riley Leonard went in there and tried to play some football. He was okay, but nothing spectacular. And then he also hurt himself. So the Colts reached out to old man Philip Rivers to take the reins. Apparently, he's been talking with Coach Steichen all year long. He runs the same offense for his high school team, and was like, hey, I know the offense already. How about you give me a call? So Philip Rivers likely to be suiting up and starting for the Colts due to all the injuries, and then Anthony still on IR due to an orbital fracture, which he caused from an exercise band going right in the noggin. So this is going to be interesting to see if Philip Rivers can still do it. Probably not. And the Seahawks are a good team. They got a great defensive line specifically that is going to eat the quarterback alive. So pray for Philip Rivers that he makes out of the game alive because it might not go his direction. I'm going Seahawks. Next is the Vikings at the Cowboys. This is our upset of the week. Now, we all know I am Nine's #1 hater. I've been his hater when he was in college, when he got hurt last year, when he played this year, when he got hurt this year, when he played when he got hurt again this year, and then when he played. They might have smoked the Commanders last week, but that also shows how bad they are. But the Cowboys have spurned me. Okay? I just started believing in the Cowboys, and what did they do? But they got smoked by the Lions. Disappointed me. Here I am thinking they might actually do something. And then they let me down. So I am giving up on the Cowboys and going with the Vikings. Now, that being said, in upsets of the week historically, Vikings are 3-3. My picks are 4-2. Cowboys are 3-4. My picks are 2-5. Going with the Vikings here. The Cowboys are favored. I think 9 might do something good for me once. Get a little upset of the week action going. If not, oh no, I was wrong. McCarthy sucks. Win-win in my opinion. And the last game this week is the Dolphins at the Steelers. This game is in Pittsburgh. We know Tua doesn't play well in cold weather. He might have done decent last week, but that was also due to the part, in fact, that the Jets had really nothing going for him at all. I'm pretty sure they got themselves a kick return touchdown, and it didn't even matter. They lost 34-10 because when Tyrod went down, Brady Cook went in, and it was over. So unfortunately, they did win that football game, but they're not winning this one against the Steelers. Blurs looked pretty good last week. Now TJ Watt is probably going to be out this week. He's dealing with something lung related, so he's in the hospital now actually. So prayers up for him, but Lurs should be able to get this one, no sweat. Eat Tua for lunch, no problem. So that's all for this week. Had a little accent going on the whole time. I hope you enjoyed that. If not, then bummers, I guess. But thanks for watching. Smash like, subscribe, all that beautiful stuff, and come back next week.